Perfect. Welcome to the show that is focused on trail gear, everything trails. I am your host, Cody Jett, and today I'm with the one, the only, Kat Bradley. How you doing, Kat?
Good, good. That was quite the introduction. Thanks.
I have to. It's one of the first people that I'm actually having you on the show, so I feel like I got to go big or go home with this. So I definitely appreciate you willing to respond to my message, to jump on it right away, especially with being in Hawaii. So I imagine you probably have a lot more fun things you could be doing, but I definitely appreciate that.
Oh, thanks. It's still work here, just working from a warmer place in Boulder.
Well, I'm in the East Coast, so it's rainy, it's cold. So, I'm a little jealous of your location. I'm not going to lie. Um, yeah. So before we jump in, if you just want to give like a little introduction of who you are, maybe the brand you work with, and then we'll take it from there.
Totally. My name's Kat Bradley. I'm a professional trail runner. I signed my first pro contract in 2017 after winning the Western States 100. And then I signed with Brooks at the end of 2020, which was like a dream brand to work with. After a lot of back and forth, I was super lucky to get a contract with them as one of their first trail athletes, building, now they're really sinking a lot of time and energy into the trail team. So it was cool to be on the forefront of that. My main sponsor is Brooks. I also am partnered with Garmin, Camelback, Method 7 Trail, and Outerknown.
Okay. I mean, you signed that contract 2020, and then we go into a pandemic. I mean, that has to be, you put that ink finally dries, and we're headed into a pandemic. How was that?
It was good timing. I was coming out from a lot of injuries.
Okay.
So I got hit by a UPS truck in 2015. So I was in 2020, it started really catching up to me, and I'm still coming out of it. And signing at that time was good because Brooks knew about it, and it showed that they still really believed in me. So not only was it a pandemic, but it was, a period of injury and struggle for me. So that's how they believe in me still, which is pretty incredible.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, just from my personal experience, and I'm absolutely not on the level of you or some of these other, Brooks has been one of the best companies to work with. From every person I've worked with, they just are like top notch. That's the one thing I can say. I've been working with a couple of people over there, and you would think I was a pro athlete, to be quite frank, how they treat me. And I think that says a lot about a company. It makes you want to keep going to that company. You want to keep working with that company. So, for them to be like, hey, we know you're working through this, and to support you 100%. I mean, that's pretty awesome when you hear a brand do that.
Awesome and pretty rare. So I'm lucky. And it's cool too, because they not only care about me as a person, but they care about what I have to say about the product. So I'm a total gear nerd, and I really like to be involved with development. And this was the first brand that I saw directly, like where my feedback had an impact.
That's awesome. I mean, that kind of bridges me exactly where I want to go with this one. The shoe I kind of wanted to pick your brain on. Curious what your thoughts are. The Catamount 2. Have you had a chance to run in this one yet?
Oh yeah, it is my favorite shoe. I ran my very first run in the Catamount 2 the first like round of testing was when I ran Javelina last year or 2021, I guess, and the Catamount 2 right out of the box was just testing it, and I was like, this looks like the perfect shoe for a fast course. And it was, and it's just gotten better from there. That was like the very first prototype. And yeah, I'm in love with what it's become.
Dude, I'm right there with you. I had the first one, and I liked the first one. I think there was some heel slippage. I think I had some minor issues with it. But I loved the look of the first one. And then this thing came out, and I was like, okay, I'm excited for it. I'm not gonna lie, it looks fantastic. It looks like it's definitely gonna look great on the trail. And I took this out of the box for a 15-mile run on all sorts of tech. I mean, I'm on the East Coast, so we're getting a little bit of everything. We got the mud, we got the rocks, we got the roots. And this thing was awesome. it handled everything you want in a shoe, especially right out of the box. I mean, it handled everything perfectly. I felt fast. I felt nimble. It was a time where I looked at my watch and I was like, holy crap, I did not want to go into the low sevens today. I was hoping to be, in the eights, but all of a sudden I'm looking at my watch and I'm just cruising down the trail. And I think that says a lot about a shoe. When you can take it out of the box and just drop some times, like I said, it was only 15 miles, but it's one of those shoes that comfort was there, responsiveness was there, and the grip. Especially an East Coast guy, I gotta have grip. If you can't grip when I'm on my trails, it's almost like worthless for me to rock.
Oh, for sure. And that's so cool that you say that, and you had feedback on the Catamount One too. So some cool history about the Catamount One is, Brooks is trying to get into trail. They're like, we have these trail shoes like the Cascadia that have been around forever. But we want a shoe where our athletes can race fast in. Specifically, this shoe was designed with the Western States course in mind. And the Catamount One was. So they built the Catamount One basically from a road shoe up. Brooks is known for having really amazing road shoes, and they wanted to, have a trail shoe that performed like a trail shoe, but was precise like a road shoe.
Yeah.
And, the Catamount One was born, which is great, but some of the feedback was not great for all terrain. The lugs were quite small, and it was a little bit stiff and slappy. So while the Catamount 2 is still stiff and responsive, the Catamount 1, my feedback to them was like it just kind of slapped. So when I was running on a course like Western States, I felt, Western States has a lot of dirt road-ish type trails. I didn't feel any feedback.
Okay.
And so the Catamount 2 was built to not only have built towards these courses like Western States, but we also wanted to perform on more technical trails. We wanted it to add to your stride and give you a little bit more energy. So those were the adjustments that were made from the Catamount One, which was still beloved, and I think made that a little bit better by making it more responsive and giving it a little bit of a rocker. You'll look at the Catamount One, it's completely flat. It looks almost like a golf shoe. And the Catamount 2 has that little bit of rocker. It's way more responsive. And I don't know. Maybe I'm biased. I've been super involved with the development of the Catamount 2. But I love what it turned out as.
And it is. But, one thing I will say, the Catamount One, style-wise, I absolutely loved it. I thought the Catamount One, shoe-wise, was just a beautiful shoe. It was one of those shoes you didn't want to get muddy. This one, I was like, I can't get this thing muddy. I can't wait to throw this down. So, and it's really interesting because it's not a high stack shoe, but it's the foam, the DNA foam that they're using is really nice on their foot. I think if you get the foam dialed in correctly, you don't need a huge chunk like the Caldera. If you do it right, you can have a slimmer shoe that's responsive and it's not going to beat up your legs. And I thought that was kind of cool about that shoe.
Yeah, exactly. And again, we're building it from a road shoe, and like a fast feeling road shoe still has some foam underneath and underfoot, but it's meant to still feel precise and fast. And that's what we want with the Catamount too.
That road shoe, was that the Hyperion? Did you guys pretty much try to model this after the Hyperion, or do you know what road shoe they were looking at?
I think just I don't know because I wasn't involved with the Catamount One development, which is really where that concept came from. But it does look a lot like the Hyperion, the Catamount 2 does. And I'm not completely sure, but I think it has a place in your quiver if you're, if you like the way a road shoe feels and you, but you want to run fast on trails and feel really confident.
I think the market, just the shoe market, is determined. People want that. People don't need a super buffed up UTMB shoe that you're going to, or like a hard rock. I think a lot of, especially people getting into the trail scene, are looking for a shoe that's a little bit more, I can see me wearing that. That doesn't look aggressive. That is more, you see this out on the shelf at a shoe store. a person's going to go up that and be like, oh, that looks like something I'm familiar with. And that's what I thought. I was like, right away, I picked this up. I was like, this looks like a familiar shoe. This looks like a shoe that I would have worn on the roads. And now talking to you, that's why, because it was modeled after a road
Yeah.
shoe. It's really cool. So that's really neat. Now, besides this shoe, what other trail shoes are in your quiver right now?
So I am super lucky to be testing the Catamount 3 right now. So I know the Catamount 2 came out, and then I've just been in the Catamount 3 for the last couple months, which is amazing. And I'm sure I'll give you some updates on that in the coming year. But I have been running a lot in the divides lately, which is really surprising for a lot of people. That one was built for a newer trail runner who was maybe running a combination of trail and road on there and needed just like a shoe that could do everything. It is modeled after the Ghost and has a lot of the same technologies that's in the Ghost. It basically is a Ghost with lugs, and that is for me, it fits my foot a little bit better. I love that shoe for any easy day on trails, anything that's not super technical. If I'm trying to run like a fast workout, I'll run in the Catamount all day. If I'm racing, I'm going to run in the Catamounts. If I'm just going out, I will be running in the divides if I'm just going out for a fun recovery trail day, just because it a cushy shoe sometimes just feels good. However, I'm not going to rip down a super technical trail on the divides and feel confident. For my really rugged days, I'm testing the Cascadia that's about to come out, the Cascadia 17. And I'm in love with that shoe too. I've tested it here in Hawaii on some of the most rugged terrain. I went up just like I was on the Big Island last winter when I started testing this shoe, and where it's a newer island, so it's the lava rock can really beat up a shoe. And they sent it to me there because they wanted to see, they knew the terrain there, and they knew I was telling them about how the lava rock was eating up my shoes. And so they tested it there. And it's great if you want a super stiff shoe to just rip down anything and not really, you can feel the trail. It's somewhat responsive, but it's meant to be a rugged mountain shoe. So it's going to be stiffer than the Catamount. It's going to be a little bit more built out, but it's not going to be soft. It's more of a protection shoe. And so it's great for like technical mountain running in Colorado. I did this race in Mexico a few months ago where it was pretty much all off trail, and I wish I'd worn the Cascadia 17. I was thinking about it. The 16 I did quite a bit of testing too, which is out now, and I before the 17 I got to test that, I was testing the 16, and that's great for the same things.
Yeah. I really like the 16 a lot. This is actually the Louis Gong version, which I thought was really cool. And I actually talked about it. His design on a shoe just looked fantastic. The whole lineup, the Sasquatch lineup, was fantastic. But like this shoe, it's cool. I don't know the best way to put it. It's just a really cool shoe. But I did find, me personally, it was very stiff. It was very firm, which for me was great when I was doing. We have some like fields that are pretty much all boulders. Perfect for that. That rock plate in there that's pretty much firming it up was great for that. But in other days, I was like, I'm becoming a little bit of a wimp, and I can admit it. I like those fluffy, comfy shoes. And that was the one thing. I did like this shoe, but kind of what you said, it is very firm, which is perfect when you're on rocks. But for a lot of the other
yeah, I think if you're looking for a fast trail shoe, or if you're deciding what kind of trail shoe you want to wear, I think looking to some of those European races or some of the UTMB race series, like Western States, Catamount all day, CCC, Catamount all day, UTMB even, Catamount. But TDS, which is way more technical, you're going over a lot of scree, you need something with a little bit more grip because there's a lot more loose descents at TDS. At CCC and UTMB, everything's kind of buffed out. But at TDS, sometimes you're just ripping down something straight. The Cascadia will offer a little bit more grip.
Okay.
And that stiffer shoe will feel better on some of that more rugged terrain on the TDS course.
Yeah, no, I can definitely tell. I mean, just like the grip right here, what you have under here,
Yeah.
you can tell it is meant to be ripped on some gnarly trails coming down. So no, I definitely get that. And the one thing you said you like to divide, I love that shoe. For I think it's
Yeah.
$110. I might be a little bit off, but it's about $110. And I remember when Brooke sent it to me and I tried it on, I was like, is there something wrong with the tag? It can't be 110.
I know.
They're like, no, that's it. And I love that. I get so many times people asking me, hey, I want to get into the trail scene. What shoe do you recommend? And not everybody's going to be spending 5 hours on the trails. They might go do a handful of trails, but they still want to shoot for the road. And I hate telling someone to go spend $170 on a shoe. The price of shoes are going up. Being able to recommend someone, hey, try the shoe. It's $110. You're going to get a ton of miles out of it. You're easily going to get 250, 300, maybe even 350 miles out of this shoe. The foam's really nice. The upper's really nice. For $110, you can't beat that.
I know. And that's the thing. Brooks wanted to make a shoe that could do everything, So people who were like, well, I run on trails a lot, but I also run on roads. Sometimes I run road to trail. I don't need this super technical shoe. I just want something that feels good underfoot, and that is the Divide. I think too, it is a great shoe for 5-hour runs. It's great for if you're doing dirt roads and a road shoe just doesn't feel good, but a trail shoe feels too built up. When I'm training here in Hawaii on the Big Island, there's just one dirt road that I run a lot on. But if I wear a road shoe, it just tears up my shoes. I only get like 2 runs and I can see the soles just because it's basically a trail, but it's like a wide dirt road. But if I wear a trail shoe, I'm like, this is way, way too much. So that's how I kind of started running in the Divides. Nick, one of the shoe guys that I work with, he sent me a pair of Divides and I was telling him what was happening to my shoes. And I wear them at least 3 times a week.
That's awesome. Now I know you said you're testing the Catamount 3 and all these other shoes, the 17. What about the Divide? Are you doing anything with the Divide 4, or is that?
Yep. I have a pair that I've been testing. I wore it yesterday actually, and I think, less is more on upgrading the Divide, making little things to make it perform better while keeping it in that budget. And it's great. They updated exactly what needs to happen. The tiny minor tweaks, but honestly, it's a bomb-proof shoe that just works. I think anyone who puts it on will like it.
Yeah, no, I tested it, and when I test my shoes, I try to put at least 50K on each shoe, and that went well above that shoe. I just kept reaching, and it's one of the shoes that where I live, a lot of times I'll run on like gravel roads to get to the trail. Yep. And that's perfect. Not everyone's like, oh, Beast Coast, we got trails that, going to make you cry. That's, we got some trails that are huge, gnarly, but most of our trails we got buffed out trails too. And that shoe I found perfect. 5 miles on a gravel road to the trail, on the trail for a little bit, and then finding my way back. I felt my legs were perfect. You know what I mean? And
yeah.
Funny you say the Ghost, because I have the Ghost and I've been running in the Ghost, and I've been trying to put my finger on why does this shoe feel familiar. I've been putting a couple miles and I was like, this shoe feels like something I've been wearing. I pulled this out and I was like, no, this is too firm. No, this isn't it. And it's definitely not the Caldera. And now that you said the Divide, I'm like, that's it. That's the one.
Yeah. Yeah. The Ghost is such a popular model. And it was really interesting for me to try the Divide too, because the Ghost, since I started running with Brooks, the Ghost has been my recovery shoe. The Glycerin is the most popular one, but I found almost immediately that I like the Ghost better for my true recovery days. And so I like put the Ghost on or the Divide on, and immediately it was love. And anyone who is running road to trail and wants something that will last a long time, because sometimes running on the pavement will break down the foam in trail shoes a little bit faster. But if you want something that is just going to last a really long time and feel just as good on the roads as it does on the trail. The divides are your shoe.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And I always tell people that finding a good road to trail shoe shouldn't be that hard, but a lot of times it is. People overdo it. They overdo it. I don't need all the overlays. I don't need everything. Like it's a road to trail shoe. I need something that's pretty minimum up top, good traction at the bottom, nothing too, that's gonna rip apart, you know what I mean? Like when you're running on roads, it's like I don't need that. Like I just needed something pretty simple. So I'm right there with you on that one.
Totally. And I think that's something that Brooks does really well. Because we're such a big company, we can be specific with our shoes. A lot of companies try to make a trail shoe that does everything, and they'll have 3 trail shoes that's kind of like in between everything. But the Divide is meant for running road to trail. It's meant for buffed out trails. It's meant for feeling really good and having an entry level shoe. Obviously anyone can wear it, but it's a really good option if you're thinking about getting into trail running, but you're like, I don't want to buy an extra pair of shoes. Or if you're doing a 50 like Tunnel Hill, which is, all gravel, but it's, you don't want like a built up trail shoe. And then between the Catamount and Cascadia, they're 2 completely different shoes, and I will wear them on completely different terrain, and it's great that the Catamount isn't trying to be the Cascadia and vice versa. Like the Cascadia is meant for more rugged days. It's stiffer because when you're bombing down scree fields, you need something that's protective, that's not going to hurt your foot, and that will stick to the ground a little bit better so you don't slide as much.
I agree with that. And I think Brooks itself has done a really great job. They have 4 shoes in the trail world, and they all do something really good in a different way. You know what I mean? So I find sometimes brands, I'm like 3 shoes, literally the same shoe. Whereas with Brooks, I'm like, I get it. This is my road to trail shoe. This is my, more buffed out, longer mile shoe. This is my technical shoe, something I know I need extra protection because I do not want to destroy my feet. And then obviously the Caldera is your chunky boy. This is your shoe that I think it was Hillary Allen. I know she didn't wear this one, but wore it at UTMB. You're going to be out there for a long time, and it's a boat. It's a boat. So plain and simple. So, but I do appreciate that. I think when you have well-defined avenues for your shoe, it makes it so much easier for the consumer to figure out, okay, this is how I'm supposed to use the shoe. Okay, here we go.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about the Caldera at all?
Yeah.
Touched on it?
Yeah, just touch on it a little bit. I mean, I know this is the 6 and they're working on the 7, and I've seen pictures of the 7, and I like the updates that they're doing. So thoughts on the...
Yeah. So I ended up running the race in Mexico, UTMB by Mexico, in the Caldera 6. Okay. And I wasn't testing the 7 because I was like, I usually don't run in big shoes. Like I don't like that. I really like a stiffer shoe. So like the Catamount, while that's not super stiff like the Cascadia, it's stiff, like it's stiff and responsive. I should have worn the Cascadia because UTMB by Mexico's was the terrain we were talking about. Super, super steep, super loose terrain. It would have been perfect. But I was having some foot issues. So a few weeks before the race, I started running in the Caldera 6, and it felt great. It helped my foot issues because it was a little bit more protected, or a little bit softer, I should say. And it's really wide in there, which is pros and cons, because it was such a steep descent, or there were so many steep descents at this race in Mexico. I ended up moving around a lot in the shoe, and I have been testing the 7 since then after giving some of that feedback on the Caldera 6 and my experience in Mexico. And the Caldera 7 is a little bit more precise. Well, it's still protective. People who love the 6 are going to love the 7 too, for all the same reasons. But they made it fit the foot a little bit better, because that was a piece of feedback that a lot of people were giving, that they were moving around a little bit. And also they took some traits from the Cascadia, it looks like the the tread looks a little bit more aggressive and feels a little bit more stable. You know, I feel more confident than I did in the 6. So the updates are great.
Okay.
I I think that could be a great UTMB shoe. Your foot is going to feel good for a really long time in that shoe.
Yeah, no, I definitely liked it. The one thing I had a little bit of an issue with this shoe is similar to what you said. When I was coming down, I felt my foot sliding a little bit. So
Mm-hmm.
it created some rubbing right here, but I also had issues with overlays right here. They were
You
really
had issues with
the overlays right
what?
here, the overlay, like
Oh,
plastic. It was
yeah,
very
yeah.
stiff when I first got the shoe. It was this was the only shoe I would say with Brooks that I had to break the upper end. It had to wear
Mm-hmm.
in a little bit because at first it like my foot felt like I was like with plastic on it. And then after
Yep.
maybe 2 runs, about 20-ish miles in it, it broke in and the upper felt great. But it was one of those shoes where I was like, man, if you just eliminated this a little bit, make it a little less stiff, then all of a sudden you got a shoe right out of the box. You could go, double digits on the trail with no issues.
Totally. And it is interesting that is the only shoe that you had that experience with, because several of our shoes have some of that overlay right there because it helps with durability.
Yeah.
But the Cascadia or the Caldera, I think that is a piece of really good feedback for those who are listening. This is any other shoe I wear out of the box. But I won't wear the Caldera out of the box. I have the same experience. It's great, like 15 miles even, but it just needs to a little stretch in there.
Just a little bit. And one thing I found with this one is the toe box was a little shallow, and that's what it was. The toe box was a little bit more shallow than the other shoes. That's why, I mean, you look at the other one, they all had that similar rubber, no issues at all. It just was a little bit more shallow. And it was one of these shoes, broke it in a little bit, and I was good to go. So that was definitely one of those.
That's so interesting that it was shallow for you, because I was just like, it's so roomy in here. I was like,
Yeah, I mean,
give me
I don't have
something a
wide
little
feet.
tighter.
Yeah, I don't have wide
Yeah.
feet, but I got some gnarly feet. I'm not gonna lie. I played soccer in high school and I have a lot of broken toes. So it's one of those things where my wife always makes fun of me. She's like, we all have to have that one thing. Yours is your toes. And I'm okay with that.
Can I tell you that the people at Brooks, so I've been describing my feet to the people I work with at Brooks for a long time, but this January, because I signed during the pandemic, this January was the first time I got to go to the Brooks headquarters. And and they didn't believe me when I was telling them about my foot. I'm like, my foot's a little weird, just FYI. And then they saw it and they were like, I see what you're talking about. That is one of the most difficult feet I've ever seen. I just have a really high instep, meaning that my bone, that's like, on the other side of your arch on top of your foot, it just sticks up a lot. So shoes are hard for me.
Interesting that you say that, because I know you said that you had, feet. And I remember Hillary Allen saying the reason why she had to go with Brooks was the only shoe that would fit her foot because she had foot issues as well. So it's really funny to hear that. I just do think it's the shoe, because I think Brooks has dialed their road shoes in so well. I do. I think they have these lines that are so dialed in. They're able to take that technology and apply it to the trail. So that when people are saying like, oh, I have this foot issue, they already did it on the trail or on the roads. People dealing with, oh, I need an insole in, we're already used to that. I think that helps a lot. So
yeah, it really does. And that's kind of why I went with Brooks too, was I needed a shoe that felt really good on my foot for a long time, and I was having trouble finding that. And before I signed with Brooks, I was testing a lot of different shoes because I knew I was with Solomon for 4 years before that, and I struggled in some of the shoes, and their shoes are very technical, and also there wasn't a good road option for me. And I loved me coming from a road, I love running on the road still. I will always love running fast on the roads, and I needed something that performed in fast road days, and I needed also a fast or like a recovery road shoe, and they nailed that, and I wanted those same features on the trail. I needed a recovery trail shoe and a fast trail shoe, and they're crushing it.
yeah, absolutely. Now you're gonna jump a little different gear. I know you signed up for Canyon's 100. Is that still happening in April for you?
I was not ever signed up for the 100. I was signed up for the 50K, and Unfortunately not. Breaking some news here, but I found out that in 2021, after CCC, I found out I had a 40% torn labrum that I likely tore during CCC due to some like back issues. And so I am, after, I was told like surgery, stem cells, PT. I went the PT route at first, and I just went really hard with PT, and it worked. It like worked really well. But my doctor described it as Wi-Fi. I just don't have a strong Wi-Fi connection between my like muscle groups, meaning like they can't communicate that well. So if everything's perfectly aligned and I'm training in my own spot and I'm able to do all of my PT perfectly and I'm sleeping well, then things are going to work. But if one thing is thrown off, everything is going to be thrown off, and I'm just not going to get the best case. I just don't get the power from my left side, and worst case, there's pain. So I decided, basically, my husband, I just got married a few weeks ago. My husband, told me like, I'm done with seeing you race at 50%, and I'm getting stem cells in a couple weeks, and we'll have to be on crutches for 3 weeks. And I will still be racing UTMB this summer, and my plans, so I'm going to take care of this first, because I'm sick of, racing and just being in pain or being frustrated because it's not working correctly. And I know the people around me too are frustrated, just listening to it all the time, being me like constantly in the cycle of like, it happened again. And everyone's like, are you surprised?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's smart. You got to take care of the body. That's your number one gear. Let's put it that way. Talking about gear, if your body's not there, you can have the world's greatest shoes. It means nothing, So no, it's definitely smart. And now, do you have an idea what shoe you might wear at UTMB, or is that too early?
It might be too early. I gotta see. Right now, I'll either be in the Catamounts or the Cascadias. So I think those are two really good UTMB shoes. My only reservation with the Cascadias is at UTMB, there are some really fast sections where you have to be running. And, when I raced UTMB in 2018, first and 10th were all 45 minutes apart. And I was up in the last 10K. I was like running fast. I was running through Chamonix, looking over my shoulder, making sure I didn't get bumped out of the top 10. And I like the Cascadia, it's such a great shoe. It's not made to go fast. So we'll see. I love the Catamount for that course. It just depends on how my foot health is, which I think after this surgery or this stem cells, it'll be good, because, with my left hip not working, I'm coming down a lot harder on that left foot. So sometimes it just gets inflamed.
Yeah. So definitely keep me posted on what shoe you're going. We can do you have your reveal of what shoe you're rocking, with me. So
yeah.
Now, we do have a little bit left, a couple minutes left. I don't want to keep you too long. The one thing I was really intrigued that you work on, and the name of it is, give me 1 second, is the Method 7 Ultra sunglasses. That's like, is that correct?
Yep. Method 7 Ultra Trail is this sunglass company that I'm working for. We tried at first to do a whole campaign of please don't call us sunglasses, because there hasn't been a piece of equipment that's been designed like this for eyewear, and it's the first ever trail running specific piece of eyewear. I know so much about it because I got involved with the brand after I was going to sign with them in 2021, and then loved the product so much that and I wasn't expecting to. I never wear sunglasses, but because I have astigmatism, and I'm like, I can't see. I could see in these. I was blown away. Was the brand manager in 2022, meaning I, built the brand voice, built the personality, made connections in the industry, and designed the first 2 pairs of sunglasses on the market, called the Huntress and the Closer, with our Trail 26 lens, which is the first trail running specific lens in the market. There's a lot of trail running glasses out there, but they really don't modify the lens. So the idea is dawn to dusk, you should be able to see you, and it really brings, instead of just darkening, it makes the obstacles and the roots and the shadows pop. It's super, it works. It's hard to sell online because I am like this too. I'm like, why am I going to spend this money on a pair of sunglasses that I've never tried? But I was just at this camp that I lead for the coaching company I work for, Boundless, and brought a bunch of demos just to see, and every single person that tried on a pair of demos bought them and took them home. So if that's like not a testament to them, then I don't know what is. And I'm super proud of that, because I spent a lot of time and heartache developing these. And also there's times where I'm like, is this gonna work? Like, is this gonna sell? Because my mentality is like, why spend money on a pair of glasses? But it's equipment, and it's equipment to invest in. And it's super cool that I just feel so reaffirmed in this mission after this camp, because the proof is in the pudding. People tried them on, they're like, dang, I need this. And so it was, phew, it works, thank God.
Well, that's an issue I always run into. I have astigmatism. I have had a couple concussions to my eyes. So like when I'm running on the trails, I can't wear sunglasses. I see people, I'm like, I envy you. I wish I could do that. But it's one of those things, I always trip over roots and rocks, and I just can't see the different. So when I saw those, I was like, I just watched Maverick and I was like, dang, those look fantastic. And then reading some of the technology. So I might have to pick myself a pair of those. So
yeah.
So
let me know what you think. I'll be stoked to hear.
got it. Maybe I'll have to do a review on the free trail site for you. So
yeah, let's connect after this.
Got it. So I got a couple minutes left. Is there anything else you want to plug that we missed, or?
I don't think so. I just want to say thanks for letting me talk about these shoes, and for letting me talk about Method 7, and for coming out about my upcoming stem cells that'll take me out for a little bit. This has been super fun. All things that are going on in my life. And I guess I should plug my own podcast. I guess if you haven't listened to it, tune into Be Rad the podcast on all of the normal websites, Spotify, Apple. You can find all that on my own website, catberad.com.
And I'll link it in the show notes and everything like that, so people can check that out. I've listened to it. Awesome. I've also seen videos of it. It sounds like you guys just have a fantastic time, and which is something I can definitely get down with. So, but no, I definitely appreciate you taking this time. And when the Catamount 3 drops and the Caldera 7 drops, all these shoes drop, I'm going to have you back on, and I can see that you can tell me what's going on with the next iteration. All right.
Woohoo. Thanks so much, Jet. This was awesome to catch up.
Perfect. Thank you. You have a good one.
You too.